Hey everybody, welcome to Signal 360 sponsored panel on using new technologies and data from those new technologies to shape marketing strategies. You might be expecting Alex Bell. I'm just as good. My name is Raslin, Director of Business Development with Signal 360. I've been with the company since the beginning, and I do a lot of our work in the sports space, and I work closely with Kevin and his team and the Golden State Warriors organization, so really excited to be here.
And I am Kevin Cote, Senior Director of Digital for the Golden State Warriors. Currently my 11th season, so I've seen the ups and the downs, and definitely enjoying the ups right now, not taking any of it for granted. And excited to kind of share what we're doing with this technology that we are all in on, and we'll talk about it more, but been great to partner with Signal 360, and great to have a platform like this and a virtual conference that we can both share and learn. So excited.
You want me to go?
And I'll pass it off to I'll pass it off to Harry from here.
Question is how do I get? There we go. I'm Harry DeMott. Run a venture firm, Raptor Ventures. I'm also CEO of a company called Raptor Sports Properties, and soon to be renamed Fan Manager, and in that capacity, I am a investor in Lev's company, Signal 360, but also at Fan Manager, we provide a data management platform for professional sports teams, college sports teams, and any sort of fan-based business, the goal of which is to sort of unify all fan data around the fan as sort of the atomic unit. So any new technology, any new gathering point, we want to catalog that and get data around fan passions.
Cool. Well, I guess we can kick it off with a presentation. And Harry, I think Fan Manager is first up, so if you want to get into some of the points on that slide.
Sure, awesome. How do we I'm probably,
there we go.
Got a slide coming up?
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. All right, there we go. You still hear it? Sure. So, Raptor Sports, the Fan Manager. I think that the business really got started a couple years ago when my partner Jim Pilata, who was a large owner of the Boston Celtics, went out and bought the AS Roma Soccer Club, and sort of started to ask the question: who are our fans? What do we have in our CRM? Who are we selling to in terms of jerseys? How are we marketing our events that are not game day events, practices, things like that? And we found out that there were very, very few solutions to that. We went around to other clubs over in Europe. Manchester United came out and said, "Hey, we have 300 million fans." To which Jim said, "Okay, great, name them." And they started to laugh and said, "What do you mean, name them?" And it says right here in our S1 we have 300 million fans. He goes, "That's great. I got a billion fans because the Pope is Catholic and I'm in Rome, and therefore I got a billion Catholic fans around the world. I can't name them either." But the point being that unless you actually have a touch point with them, the ability to email them, to physically mail them, to get at their cell phone through a proximity marketing system, through a notice, they're not necessarily. They may be fans of yours, but they're certainly not customers. So the goal is to turn fans into customers. In the consumer world and on Amazon, this is a well-known problem, and it has been largely solved. But in sports, there's a huge disconnect, between the data and the marketing to fans. I'm not going to paint my face black and white or red and white because I like Heinz ketchup, as it says here on the slide. But I might paint my face red and white if I'm at an Atlanta Falcons game, and I'm currently doing this from a trailer right outside the Atlanta Falcons' new stadium, which is a really kind of cool building. If when it's done, and everyone should come down and see it. The thing was awesome looking. Our goal is to basically integrate all the data sources that fans have and teams have into one unified architecture. So whether it's a data from their email service, from their CRM service, from their Ticketmaster accounts, from their Access accounts, whatever it is, from Lev's company at Signal 360 Proximity Marketing, then we want all of those to be done in our system so that the marketers at the teams have one unified structure to look at. If we could have the next slide, I can tell you a little bit about what's going on there. Next slide, please.
Sure.
Thank you. Yep. Switch to the left for a second. There we go. Slide. Right now, we have a couple clients on it. We have the Boston Celtics. We have the Dallas Cowboys using it. We have AS Roma using it, and we're actively in talks with a number of clubs. I was actually out visiting Kevin at his pretty cool facility. Can't find him. He lives in like the bat cave on top of the building there, but very cool place. And we're talking to a number of teams about deploying it in baseball, in hockey, more basketball teams, more football teams. And what's been interesting is that we generally start with the data managers, the CMOs, and we have 3 or 4 people on it. But we've really pushed it out now to the point where we are at over 30 people on the Celtics and over 50 on the Cowboys using it, all the way out to the salespeople who are dealing with the ticket buyers and the ticket holders at the Cowboys. And it's interesting because the Cowboys obviously don't have a ticketing problem per se, but they are very, very interested in selling more merchandise since they run their own merchandising arm. AT&T Stadium is sold out all the games that they play, but every one of those customers is a potential. Every one of those fans is a potential customer, and every one of the 5+ million fans that we have in our database for them is a potential merchandise buyer. When we look at the Celtics, we have 2.8 million people in our database that are Celtics fans, and yet Facebook has 8.8 million Celtics fans on there. So we have a long way to go in terms of getting the fans that are out there, into a form that the teams can actually use to market to. We've found some really good positive use ROI cases for these teams, and that continues to sort of move forward nicely from identifying new fans through either finding folks who are on, let's say, the NBA.com merchandise site who the Celtics never knew existed, and yet these are 57,000 people who actually went out and bought Celtics jerseys. Same thing on the Dallas Cowboys side, finding new fans there, and those fans are now actually becoming active ticket buyers, so we can actually show some good ROI on this. The goal ultimately is to have as much data around the fans' passions, and it's really, as I sort of put it, it's the data that defines who you are. So for me, I don't have my New York Rangers hockey jersey on, but I would say that I am somewhat defined by my fanaticism for the New York Rangers hockey team, and I'm happy to share that with people. I'm happy to talk to people about it. And that is somewhat what a fan is. I'm a season ticket holder. I buy separate tickets. I tweet about it. I Instagram from the games. I'm on Facebook there. I'm pretty much your ideal fan, and I watch probably 35 games on TV a year outside the ones that I go to. The 40 games that I might go to at home. So those are the type of fans that you want to connect with, and you want to turn more people into folks like me. So that's what we do at Fan Manager, and we're taking as much technology and sort of massaging it and trying to put it into use for sports teams. So with that, I'll pass it on to Kevin probably. I think he's probably in the next couple slides.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks, Harry. So from there, we'll move on to something that's somewhat related in that in this panel as a whole, and capturing the data, using the data in coordination with a technology like Beacon. So we've actually been partnered with Signal 360 on this for almost a year now. And it's been definitely last season we had it for about 6 weeks, and it was in a live environment, actively using it, but it was a big point of learning for us. It was education for ourselves, it was education for our fans, tweaking the technology, figuring out what resonated, what didn't, a lot of iterating, and I think that was really beneficial to the point where this season we've been really able to focus on how it helps drive the business. First and foremost, it's always about the fans. We want to make sure that we use the technology in the right way, that any notification that a fan gets within our venue has an immediate benefit for them, so that they know this technology is new. You can't. There's certain concerns that it could be spammy, but when used right, it's definitely not. It's a benefit, and the smart fans will pick up on that and know that as long as you utilize it the right way. And so we've really focused our efforts on a couple different use cases within the venue that are related to driving the business. One of them is at the top of every escalator, we have beacons that alert fans that they can upgrade their seats. So if you're sitting in the upper level and you don't know maybe that we even have that functionality within our app, or you've forgotten, or you are too preoccupied with making sure your kids get their hot dog, we do the work for you and letting you know, hey, did you know you can upgrade your seats? We're in a unique situation that I don't take for granted. We have 107 straight sellouts now, and so our inventory is limited, which is a good problem to have. But there's always certain inventory that is available due to holds and some other unique situations. But what we've seen so far, 15% of all that mobile upgrade revenue has directly been tied to the beacons. We think that can even continue to grow as the adoption of our app grows, as people get more interested in the actual upgrade process when they find out that, yeah, there are some seats down there that I might want to get into, upgrade into. And so it's an incremental revenue play for us, using technology to do that. Another use case is our merchandise. So we put a beacon inside our team store. And every single game, we have a different activation, a different item that's either discounted or free with a minimum spend. And you only get that free item if you have our mobile app and you receive the beacon notification and you show it to the cashier. And again, that's something we've seen steadily grow throughout the season. It's been so effective that we're trying to figure out how to make it even more full scale, maybe at every location in our venue, every merchandise location. So we're going to continue to ramp that up. But what we've seen pretty consistently is those with the beacon are spending on average about 93% more than those without. So they're taking advantage of the offer. They're looking at the minimum spend. They're incentivized to get that free item, and the only way to do so is through the app and through the proximity notification that we get via the beacon. So that's been hugely successful. Now the next step is how do we make it even more successful. And then another quick number here is we've seen it as a tool that a lot of our sponsors are interested in, especially when you have an incredibly captivated, engaged audience, 20,000 fans at every game who are going to be using their mobile device. We're not in denial about that fact. We want to empower them to use that mobile device to enhance their experience. That's what it's really about for us, and our sponsors have seen that, and we've been able to do things like when you walk into the venue, no matter where you are, at every entrance, there's a welcome message. We've been able to do contests or giveaways with some of our sponsors tied to that welcome message. So every single fan that's coming into the venue that's getting that welcome message is also saying, hey, it's Under Armour night, and they're giving away 500 pairs of socks. And we did that one night and got rid of those socks. We got rid of them in 45 minutes, but it could have been 5 minutes if we were able to have that many people handing out these socks. But it was amazing seeing all these fans coming up, showing us that they received the notification. That was a great use case. We can go to the next slide probably. As we talk about, this has been great, and we have the playoffs coming up, and we're going to ramp that up. But how do we look even further beyond that? We're still at the very beginning of this technology, and in addition to retail, there's obviously a huge opportunity for retail, but I think there's a huge opportunity for sports teams with, like I said, that incredibly engaged, passionate fan base. So for us, it's number one, how do we continue to engage fans and show them how beneficial this can be? But on the business side, how do we start collecting more of that data? How do we make it more personalized, more contextual? How do we come up with even more sponsorship opportunities, other ways to drive incremental revenue through ticket sales, retail? One thing, honestly, we talk about all these successes, but one thing we've struggled with is actually concessions. We've tried to do beacon offers with our concessions, and for some reason it doesn't resonate as much as the merchandise. So there's a learning there. We're trying to figure out, maybe it's because when you go into our retail stores, you'll see in the screenshot there, you actually get a video message from Harrison Barnes, one of our players, that welcomes you to the team store, that says, thank you for coming, thank you for downloading our app, view tonight's special offer below this video. And that's really compelling, and I think that's part of the reason that offer's been successful. It's harder to do that with concessions out on the concourse because you're not in a confined space, but those are the types of things we're learning as we go. Looking out further, again, with sponsors, trying to figure out, is there a way to use the beacons? Are very easy to implement. They're mobile. They're small. Can we start bringing these into some of our sponsors' locations, their retail locations? So not only do they get a taste of how easy it is to implement beacons, but also how do they integrate with our brand and our app, which is a benefit to us. So that's one thing. Looking even further, but not that far away, using Signal 360 sonic audio technology is something we're really, really interested in. We're actually talking to Lev a lot about this right now, trying to figure out a way to integrate it potentially into our TV broadcasts, live streams. More to come on that. I don't want to let all the cat out of the bag on everything, but that's something we're really, really excited about doing as soon as possible. And then lastly, if anybody doesn't know, we're building a new venue in San Francisco. And it's not just going to be a venue for basketball. It's going to be, an arena, a complex, a campus with retail and restaurants and a public park and 150 other events, not just basketball. So how do we use this technology and mobile technology as a whole to customize and personalize and tailor the fan's experience so it's contextually aware, so it's driving the business again, but really all about the fan. And that's on the roadmap, and it's a lot to think about, but it's also really, really exciting. So from there, I'll pass it on to Lev.
Thanks. Kevin, I think you discussed the ROI and the use cases best. And Harry, definitely thanks for sharing stuff with the folks about Fan Manager. Really what I want to take some time to talk about is the differentiated approach that Signal 360 has when it comes to proximity. And it's in working closely with the Warriors organization, but also vendors and partners like Fan Manager or Experience or Levy Restaurants, or even tangentially with some of the sponsors that really makes this a useful experience. As a company, we try to set ourselves apart in a few different ways. One of them is the technological components, like Kevin briefly alluded to. We have the sonic audio capability, and that materializes in a few different ways. So we have a capability of integrating into TV broadcasts, into live stream broadcasts, to broadcast via the PA. And we've had activations like these at concerts, like our Swedish House Mafia use case, and a number of other concerts where you can message everybody simultaneously. It's versatile in that way. And the beacons themselves, they send out the iBeacon Bluetooth Low Energy signal, but they also send out the sonic audio signal. And so that's particularly good because fan behavior isn't always caught up to what technology that you're trying to implement and utilize. And so this has been a great way for us to reach a number of fans that don't necessarily have their Bluetooth turned on or aren't yet fully educated or aware of exactly how they can benefit from these proximity offers. And so on average, we're seeing 35% of our engagement that's directly contributing to this ROI being triggered via the sonic audio stuff. But I think more important than the technology itself, which is somewhat commoditized, I mean, it's a pretty crowded space. You know that there are a whole bunch of people in there. It's the level of service we provide. And above and beyond, we try to work closely with Kevin and his team, with partners in their team to ensure that the experience is great. And like Kevin said, the first 6 weeks and even until now, we learn and we incrementally upgrade the system. And we can only do that with direct feedback from the partners and also by way of the fans because they're the ones interacting with the system. And so there's a lot of cool things in the future for us as well, like the sonic audio TV piece. That's a patented technology, and we've been working for quite a long time with some pretty big broadcasters in the space. And ultimately, proximity is not just about the beacons themselves in the physical venue, but if you can imagine you're sitting at home watching a game on, say, ESPN, or it's a local broadcast, and you have the YinzCam app that interacts with the beacons inside of the venue, but now Kevin and his team, they're able to drive a whole new fan experience by via the signal that's embedded in the broadcast. And so the fans opt in, and now they're able to feel like, wow, we're really a part of this game from the comfort of their home. And so ultimately, from the data side of things, we can tie that together. And so everything from beacons at the sponsors' brick and mortar locations, say Adidas has some beacons at their stores, to commercials and the game itself when it's being broadcast on TV to the stadium, we can connect all of these different points. And like Harry said initially, now we know more about the fan, and we can drive a value-added experience, that it's not going to feel spammy, and if a person wants to be a fan, they are rewarded by the team for their participation because we know how to cater exactly to you. And that's really the value out of proximity. It's not just the beacons, which are great. They are driving ROI right now, but they drive this immense value of being able to personalize the experience for the fan. And that's where we're working to. And Kevin and the Warriors, they've been a beacon of leadership in this space, not just by working with us, but it really takes somebody who's willing to move forward with this technology and test and increment and build out the use cases and build out the ROI and not just sit there waiting for something to happen. And as you saw in his slide, it's paying off both for the fans and for the organization. And I know we're running tight on time, so if there are any questions, I'll leave it open to that. But outside of that, just want to say thanks to everybody for participating. I hope this was productive and educational. So
that was quick, left.
Yeah, I know. I figured I'd leave some room for questions, but hashtag sports. We're okay on time? Cool. All right. So maybe if we have a little more time left, and Kevin, I don't know if you want to add anything to this. One of the use cases I was interested in highlighting is our work with experience. So one particularly good measure of ROI is what sort of ticket sales that we derive from the seat upgrades. And it's interesting to see. So this functionality already exists within the app. So if you're well acquainted with the Warriors app or with any other app that has a seat upgrade functionality, you're certainly welcome to go in there and perform the actions. But if you are distracted with something else, or it may not be top of mind, this notification reminds you in that split second whether you could be in the merch store and receive an offer for an item. What's really good about this technology and the value of the beaconing and venue technology is that it's a smart tap on the shoulder. And so we're maybe seeing on average something like 9 to 15% of the page view traffic. So more people are opening up the experience seat upgrade page, but the seat upgrade revenue, depending on how much inventory this is, and it's not 100% across the board, but the seat upgrade revenue can vary anywhere from 15 to, we've seen on, I think, a few nights, all of the seat upgrade revenue. And that's really good, and that's showing that's a demonstrable fact that this technology isn't spammy, it's not bothering people, because they are engaging with this. It's something that they're really interested in using. And the hope, ultimately, I'll also say this other thing. So a lot of sports teams themselves, if anybody's listening, I think this is a big question on your mind. It's, how much should we be paying for this system? And we definitely have a price that's based on ROI, but I would say that proving out, once the technology is proven out, as it's happening right now in a lot of different venues, the sponsors are looking for new ways of engaging with their fans. They're seeing that it's not intrusive. They're seeing that they're reaching X hundreds or thousands of fans per night. They would gladly pay for something like this. So I think teams, when you're considering the business model, know that the ultimate position for us isn't to be a burden on your bottom line. In fact, it's to be the opposite. So in addition to driving revenue incrementally through merchandise sales or through seat upgrades sales, this would be an opportunity for the sponsors to foot the bill, but everybody wins in that situation. Cool. So there's an audience question. How is technology such as drone usage and robotics impacting or going to impact marketing with beacons? That's an interesting one. I don't know if it's mutually exclusive. I could see, and I don't know, Harry or Kevin, if you want to answer this, but the first thing that came to mind is the dub truck activation you guys did, where there was a beacon affixed to the dub truck and it roamed neighboring cities in the Bay Area. And so folks with the Warriors app who weren't at the stadium would actually still be able to get a proximity engagement if they were by the dub truck. You can definitely integrate these capabilities into a drone or a robot. And so if you're, I guess, if Amazon's doing deliveries and they're cool with the Warriors sending some messaging there, I mean, I'm not even sure what the possibilities are. But
I think it's going to be hard on the drone side. I'm not 100% sure you're going to get a lot of information out of the drones, but they are cool, and I think you'll see more of those blimps flying around stadiums and outside of stadiums for that matter. I'm not sure about the actual quadricopters or octocopters that you see that kind of run around, but I did like the truck.
Let's see, we got another question. It says, measure of ROI, ticket sales of fans using a beacon to order tickets or to upgrade their seats. Is it worth time developing?
Yeah, I got an answer for this one, Lev.
Sure.
So I'm actually down in Atlanta today, and we actually were with the experience guys, so we were able to show some of the data that you and Kevin put together, which is that people who use the Beacon technology and the Experience app at the Golden State Warriors are roughly, I think it's about 70% more likely to, we drive more, we may get 10% of the traffic, but we drive, 17% of the upgrades. We also did some data for them from the Celtics, where we found that people who are using the Experience app are 4 times more likely to become season ticket holders than the average person who just buys a single game seat and never upgrades. And so, if we can combine those 2 experiences, i.e., seat upgrades, with Beacon technology, I think we can get a pretty meaningful lift and ultimately season tickets, and that's clearly a highly ROI positive, instance for a team, because you're not. I mean, Kevin could probably give us the exact number, but of his season ticket fans, most people have more than 1 seat. They usually have at least 2 seats. So if I'm selling, all of a sudden I'm selling 2 seats to 45 games, I just sold 90 tickets, for a system. That pretty much pays for the system for the year, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, next question I could probably handle. So question is, if beacons and team apps are so beneficial and easy to implement, why have we not seen this in more venues? Is cost a factor? I think cost isn't a factor for us. I mean, it was something we believed in enough to invest in it, and we've definitely exceeded our investment quite easily. So I think if there is a concern about cost, that shouldn't be too much to have a team not want to do this. With sports teams, we are on shoestring budgets a lot of times, and technology is sometimes difficult to invest in because you don't know where it's heading. But I think in this scenario, we've been able to prove return on investment for sure, but also a way that technology can help impact incremental revenue, which is huge, and especially in the sports space where we're all looking for ways to drive that incremental revenue through all the different channels. And then beyond that, it's fan engagement. There are differing philosophies of whether you should want your fans using their phones at your games, but being in the Bay Area, we know our fans are going to be on their phones. We have a very connected fan base. We have executives from Facebook and Google and Twitter and Apple at all our games, and they expect to be able to use their device, so we want to empower them to enhance their experience through that device. And so for us, it was a no-brainer to at least try it. And luckily, it's something that wound up working out really well, and we see it continuing to grow. We're still so far at the beginning. We're going to look back at some of the use cases we have today in a few years and laugh at how trivial they are, I think, compared to what we're going to be doing once we move to San Francisco. So I think it's something that eventually all teams are going to be doing. More and more have started doing it over the last probably 6 to 8 months in all sports, and it's going to continue to grow.
Okay. Kevin, I think this next question is good for you too. How are wearables integrating in stadium fan experience with beacons? So I mean, maybe partially you, partially me to discuss that.
Yeah, good question. I mean, that's another thing. We were lucky enough to have the liberty and the goal to try things and not be afraid to fail. And last year we built an app specifically for Google Glass. Not some other teams did some other stuff. Some other teams did really innovative stuff with different camera angles or perspectives. We decided to make an app that was identical to our Android app because it's built on the same platform, to see if that could be something that enhanced a fan's experience. Just in case, at the time, just in case Google Glass really took off, we'd be ahead of the game, and we'd already have that developed. That the way Google Glass has gone is not as much at the forefront of what we're focused on right now, but that's an example of that could be integrated into what we're doing with our beacons. As far as other wearables, there's all kinds of opportunities. Lev, I don't know if you have any other examples, but
yeah, there's wearables. They're so interesting. Like Microsoft came out with their HoloLens recently, Google Glass. It's unclear if they tabled it or not, but I mean, there's like Apple Watch, for example, that 100% is going to be integrated with beaconing technology. Maybe initially from a notifications perspective, but it'll make it very easy and very user-friendly to interact with these different points called beacons. I mean, and just to throw this out there, right now we're saying iBeacon, and we're talking about Bluetooth Low Energy and sonic audio and physical beacon devices. I think a few years from now, not just the use cases will be what's different, and we'll look back and be like, wow, these were so antiquated, because at that point they're going to be personalized and they're going to look a lot sleeker, but it's the protocols as well. So specifically to the platform piece, it's important to be able to accommodate working with different wearable devices, but also how you engage with those wearable devices is very important. So it could be a multiplicity of technologies on the broadcasting end, on the receiving end. It can be the way you see things. It can be the way your watch responds to things. Apple Pay, that's a super interesting thing. That's not quite a wearable, but we're working with folks like Micro so that at the point of sale system, it's a very seamless checkout experience. How do you integrate loyalty into that? So it's going to be a lot more more than just receiving a message on your phone. It's going to be definitely interacting with your environment in a seamless way.
Hey Lev, I'll give you a slightly different viewpoint on that, or a different angle on that, which is that we're all talking about consumer wearables. I think we're going to start seeing a lot more over time of athlete wearables, which will be some really interesting data that'll come in. So if all of a sudden Curry's coming up the court and we see that his heart rate is all jacked up because he's tired because he's just played 42 minutes in a row or something like that, he might not be the guy you want taking the shot or driving the lane, because he's going to be a little bit more tired than the guy who just came off the bench. You see that data, in NASCAR on the TV channels, with all sorts of data, from RPM data to speed data. You start to see it in things like the Tour de France with heart rate data, cadence data from bikes. I have to believe that more and more athlete data on performance, how fast is Colin Kaepernick throwing the ball, versus Tom Brady versus the next guy, is going to be of interest to fans, and I think that would be a really interesting thing to have in stadium, in apps, and ultimately over TV broadcast to further get people into that, because again, you always as a fan, I think, want to understand, everyone sat at a 3-point line and took shots. Most sports fans have done that, and it would be really kind of cool to be able to talk about the spin rate of the ball coming off your fingers versus the guy who's the best free throw shooter at the Warriors. So anyway, just a different take.
No, that's great insight. And I think with that, we've run out of time. Again, everybody, thanks very much for watching. The one thing I want to remind everybody to do is, if you have any questions for us or for any other of the panelists or discussions, tweet using #SportsConf. And the Hangouts are going to be running until 6 p.m. tonight. So thanks for tuning in, and looking forward to fielding some questions after from you guys. And thanks, Kevin and Harry.
Thanks, Bob.